afternoon. You're watching i24 News. Houthi fighters in Yemen say they will accept the Saudi proposed 5-day humanitarian ceasefire, but warned that they would respond to any violations. The pause in fighting is due to begin on Tuesday and will allow time for donors to coordinate aid supplies. The UN says airstrikes have killed at least 1,400 people, with more than half civilians. Earlier this morning, the Saudi-led forces conducted air raids at dawn in the Yemeni capital, targeting the former president Ali Abdullah Saleh's house after a wave of aerial bombing in the last 24 hours, as Danny Swibel explains.
A Saudi-led coalition continues to conduct airstrikes on Yemen, with over 130 over the previous 24 hours. UN Humanitarian Coordinator for Yemen, Johannes van der Klaas, said many of the attacks violated international law, most notably the indiscriminate bombing of populated areas with or without prior warnings, as well as the targeting of the northern city Sada, where many civilians are trapped.
The roads to Sanaa, to the north of the country, are blocked. We can no longer easily transport. All this to say that we need more stocks in the country.
Intense combat between Houthi Shiite rebels and southern pro-government fighters continued in Yemen's port city of Aden this past weekend. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister said that a 5-day humanitarian ceasefire in the Yemen conflict would begin on Tuesday, although he stressed its success depended entirely on the Iranian-backed Shiite Houthi rebels.
The ceasefire will end should the Houthis or their allies not live up to the agreements contained in this issue. This is, I believe, a chance for the Houthis to show that they care about their people.
The UN says airstrikes have killed at least 1,400 people, more than half civilians. The Saudis say this is in large part due to the fact that the rebels have been hiding troops and weapons in civilian areas to avoid being targeted by airstrikes. Sunni Muslim Saudi Arabia, who has been sheltering the internationally recognized Yemeni president Mansour Abd Rabu Hadi, has accused Shia rival Iran of arming the Houthi fighters, a claim Iran and the Houthis firmly deny.
Earlier, I was joined from Sana'a by the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for Yemen, Johannes van der Klaas. He responded to the Houthi acceptance of the ceasefire and explained why the Saudi-led strikes were a breach of international law.
We're talking at the moment about a 5-day so-called humanitarian pause, which is a period which should be observed by all the parties to allow all those civilians affected by the conflict to escape to safer areas, to access basic services, and most importantly, to allow us humanitarian actors on the ground to provide life-saving emergency assistance. Indiscriminate violence against civilian populations is indeed a contravention of international humanitarian law, because under international humanitarian law, all parties to a conflict must